Thanks for tuning in to this market wrap right here on BloombergQuint Live. And it's an interesting mix of things that we'll talk about. With me, of course, is my colleague Nickey Mirchandani. And Nickey, before we get to the details, suffice to say that it's been an interesting week full of results and full of mid-cap moves as well.
Sure. In today's trade, what actually stood out was the Lupin. The numbers were rather
Yeah.
interesting. If you look at the
Yeah, Nicky, no,
numbers,
no, just before you get to those, let me just first mark what happened to the indices, and then we'll get to the mid-cap stocks as well. Just first wanted to mark what happened to the individual movers and shakers as well. So if you look at the daily moves and the indices ended very, very flattish, just that the banks had some gains to themselves. But this is what the Nifty 50 looked like at the end of the day. 4.5% for Asian Paints. They've launched a slew of new products, and I don't know if that is something that is charming the street, but up 4.5%. Bajaj Finance continues to rise and shine. UPL recovers a little bit after the big stick that it took the whole of last week. And OMCs in general, I think, did okay. I mean, I don't know if PCL ended well. I think the results were okay. BPCL is ended about 2.5% higher. What didn't do well was IT, and a bit of a disappointment, really. I thought that there would be some strength that could continue, but the IT stocks gave way. Yesterday, they're doing okay. Today, not so much. The broader end of the spectrum, and we'll talk about the individual names, but the broader end of the spectrum, just a quick snapshot of what happened on the Nifty 500. Remember, the last 4 days, we've had positive market breadth. I wonder if today was more of the same. And I would have thought that that would be the case simply because that augurs well for stock specific action. And boy, we saw some really strong stock specific action. But look at that, nearly 3:2 in favor of the advances, the breadth. I mean, GMM Fordler was up 18%, 5059. Honeywell Automation, another 13% higher. You can see that there's some common bit about how some of the global names did well. So that was one good thing. All the Adani Group stocks did well. Adani Green Energy, Adani Transmission, Adani Enterprises, all of them had a fairly decent day. Vodafone Idea bucked up in trade, and Tata Consumer Products shine. What gave way was Lupin, 6% lower. I don't think the con call had too much either. Deepak Nitrite, terrible numbers, and that came off too. And somewhere you saw some bit of pull back in Tata Communications down there. It's a very active stock, but somehow not doing all that well. But for the week as well, just before I hand it over to Nicky, just remember for the week as well, if you look at the 7-day performance, it is pharma and metals which have done well, and the PSUs which haven't. But Nicky, we'll come to the weekly performance of some of the pockets, and I would want your opinion there. But first, the daily moves, what stood out today?
yes, as I was just mentioning that Lupin actually took a hit in today's trade, 6% down on weak set of earnings. US business obviously was a drag, and there was also we saw some amount of higher taxes which weighed on the bottom line performance of the company. Overall, even the domestic was, business was pretty subdued, and the company continued to, the whole day was rather, we saw downtick coming into an extent of 6 to 7 odd percent in trade. Another disappointing number came in from specialty chemical Deepak Nitrite company, where actually, the stock went on, plunged to as much as 9 odd percent in trade today, but some amount of recovery happened by close of trade, and it ended lower by just 4.5 odd percent. Extremely weak set of numbers reported by the company. Look at the top line, we're looking at a 35% downtick. Top line, we also saw bottom line coming off by 25%. Operational performance took a hit. But on the other hand, on the positive side, we had agrochemical company Bayer Crop Science. The entire pack, actually, agrochemical pack has been doing well, and Bayer Crop Science too came with good set of numbers. Revenue was up by 20%. Net profit was up by 86%. I mean, it's hard to find numbers like these in in times like these. EBITDA was up by 61%, margin as much as 26%, and also, as Niraj was mentioning, Asian Paints, fourth consecutive session of gains for Asian Paints. 2 days back, we also had Morgan Stanley, which initiated a buy rating on the counter, suggested that the price target of around 1,800 rupees for Asian Paints. Said that it continues to be a structural beneficiary overall of the consumption story, and is also the leader of the pack. So clearly, some amount of gains also coming in on account of that. But then, what really stood out for you, Neeraj, when it comes to the whole week?
There's a lot of concern about pharma, right? I mean, two pockets that stood out. One of them was pharma. And I think there's a lot of concern about pharma, about whether or not a lot of low quality companies, etc., are moving up. You have to bear in mind, viewers, that Some of the API players, right? They're now trading at about 20, 25 times multiples. Nobody wanted to buy them at 10 times. Suddenly, everybody in their aunt is coming out and talking about buying them. So you have to just be a bit mindful about that. But yes, the pocket continues to see traction, and a lot of people believe that the good quality companies, we just starting off on a long heady bull run. So watch out for Nifty Pharma. In today's session, select domestic names like Alchem, etc. did okay. Torrent after the numbers did okay. Divi's continued to rise and shine. But we had some problems for Lupin and Biocon. So those were the slightly key culprits. Nickey, but the interesting bit is also metals, right? Steel companies in particular, Tata Steel example, are just shooting through the roof. What's happening here?
Yeah, if you could just show the Nifty metal index chart for a period of 5 days, you would see Hindustan Zinc that's rallied almost 20%, and other steel players like Tata Steel, JSW Steel, SAIL, they too have rallied to an extent of 8 to 10 odd percent. But I'm going to address Hindustan Zinc first because Citi sometime back actually initiated a note saying that it's moving in, and it's actually going to be watching out for how does the silver earning pan out for Hindustan Zinc. It's a 90-day positive catalyst watch that Citi has initiated on Hindustan Zinc on likely earning upgrade coming in from silver prices. Now remember, silver accounts for nearly 25% of companies' FY20 EBITDA, and for FY21, the EBITDA contribution rather moved higher to 35%. So clearly, some amount of gains coming in from that. And also, if you look at the other names like Tata Steel, JSW Steel, SAIL, the winds of change completely blowing now for the steel sector as a whole. If you look at the Bloomberg consensus, most of them anticipate either a flat or a downside potential to the steel stocks. But then there are a few things which are actually moving in the favor of the company. Look at the demand consumption pattern that has been changing. People are now, there is an incremental demand coming in for flat products as compared to the longs that we were seeing earlier, because of the JSPL was also rallying. The domestic HRC prices have been on an uptick. They've been defying monsoon blues, and if you look at the discount that they're currently demanding as compared to that of the imported price, that's actually widening despite the price hike that we've seen, implying that there's some amount of uptick, or rather a room to go ahead and hike prices further. Also, we're expecting some amount of spreads to improve. Coking coal prices, which is a raw material used for steel, that's been coming down. HRC prices are improving. Net, three things auguring well: be it demand, be it prices, and be it spreads, all working towards the favor of steel sector as of now.
Okay, we'll watch out for all of these. And viewers, remember, Nikki, very quickly, 30 seconds. What are the names? What are the earnings that one is watching out for? Quick 30 seconds.
Okay, for tomorrow, we're going to be watching out for Apple and BCP Bank. And when it comes to Monday, we're going to be watching in few important one like Power Grid Corporation, Shree Cement, and Titan.
Okay, Titan, that's the big one. It's had a bit of a rally ahead of the numbers, so do watch out for that one as well. And of course, we'll watch out for the global market performance. But our markets, a little reason to complain. I think that should something that people should take out from. But from Nickey and myself and the team that had put this wrap together, thanks so much for watching, viewers, and have a great weekend.